All right, let's jump right in. We're about to pull back the curtain on one of chemistry's coolest secrets, and it's all about how something as simple as temperature has this incredible hidden power to control the speed of, well, pretty much everything.
So first up, we're going to talk about heat's hidden superpower. It's something you see in action all the time, probably without even realizing the wild science that's going on behind the scenes.
I mean, think about cooking an egg. You know the drill. You crack it into a super hot, sizzling pan, and bam, it's done in minutes. But what if the pan is just kind of warm? You'd be standing there forever, right? So what's really happening? It's more than just hotter is faster. It's a massive change in reaction speed.
And this isn't just about your breakfast. This is basically a law of the universe. From metal rusting to the food digesting in your stomach, if you turn up the heat, you're putting that chemical reaction into hyperdrive. The real question is, why?
Now here's where it gets kind of wild. It's not a simple one-to-one relationship. There's a rule of thumb in chemistry that for a lot of reactions, raising the temperature by just 10 degrees Celsius can actually double the speed. Not just speed it up a little bit, double it. How on earth is that possible?
To get that, we have to shrink down. I mean, way, way down to the molecular level, and take a look at what is basically organized chaos.
Okay, so the first piece of the puzzle is something called collision theory, and it's a really simple idea at its core. For molecules to react with each other and make something new, they have to physically smash into one another. No collision, no reaction. Simple as that.
The best way to picture it is like a mosh pit at a concert. When the music's slow, people are just kind of bumping into each other occasionally. But when the band kicks into a fast song, everybody starts moving like crazy, and the number of collisions goes through the roof. Heat is the fast song for molecules. More heat means more energy, they zip around faster, and bam, way more collisions.
But here's the kicker. Just like a random bump in the mosh pit isn't going to start a friendship, not every single molecular collision actually causes a reaction. For it to be a successful collision, two things have to be perfect. The molecules have to hit each other with enough energy, and they have to be facing the right way. The orientation has to be just right.
And that's the big question, isn't it? The orientation part kind of makes sense, like puzzle pieces fitting together. But what does sufficient energy actually mean? How much is enough? This is the real secret behind that 10-degree rule.
To understand that, we have to imagine that there's this invisible energy hill, or a barrier, that every single reaction has to get over before it can actually happen.
And that hill, it has a scientific name, activation energy. You can think of it as the minimum price of admission. It's the absolute least amount of energy molecules need when they collide to actually break their old bonds and form new ones.
It's just like a runner trying to clear a hurdle. They can run at that thing 1,000 times, but if they can't jump high enough, if they don't have enough energy to get over the top, they're just going to crash into it every single time. Molecules are exactly the same. They can collide all day, but if they don't have that activation energy, nothing happens.
And this is where temperature becomes the hero of the story. See, at a lower temperature, only a really tiny fraction of all those molecules actually have enough energy to clear that hurdle. But when you turn up the heat just a little bit, the number of molecules that can make that jump goes up a lot. It's not a small increase, it's a huge, dramatic one. This whole relationship is so important that a brilliant chemist named Svante Arrhenius figured out how to describe it with a single equation. Now don't worry, you don't need to be a math genius for this, but just seeing it really helps put all the pieces together.
So this is it, the Arrhenius equation. K is the reaction speed we're trying to figure out. It's based on A, how often molecules collide, EA, that energy hurdle we just talked about, and look down there at the bottom, T for temperature.
Now the real magic here is where the T is. See how it's part of an exponent? That gives it this insane multiplying effect. It means a small, steady increase in temperature doesn't just add a little speed, it multiplies the reaction rate exponentially. And that right there is why a tiny 10-degree nudge can literally double the speed of everything.
So this isn't just some abstract idea from a chemistry textbook. This principle is one of the most powerful tools we use to manipulate our world, from our own kitchens to the most advanced labs on the planet.
Just think about your fridge. It's not just a cold box, it's a reaction-slowing machine. By dropping the temperature, you're making that activation energy hurdle so high that the reactions that cause food to spoil just can't get over it. You're literally buying more time.
Now, flip that idea on its head and look at your car.
The catalytic converter gets ridiculously hot, and that's on purpose. It uses all that heat to dramatically speed up the reactions that turn nasty pollutants from your engine into much safer stuff. It's cleaning our air by cranking the speed dial to max.
And this control can be a matter of life and death. In labs where they develop new medicines, chemists use temperature with incredible precision. A degree too high or too low could ruin an entire batch. They have to nail it to make sure the life-saving drugs we need are created perfectly and quickly.
So if there's one big idea to walk away with, it's this. Temperature is so much more than just hot and cold. It's one of the fundamental control knobs for the entire molecular universe. By turning that dial up or down, we can tell reactions when to go, when to stop, and exactly how fast to run.
And that leaves you with a pretty cool question to think about. We've already harnessed this power for everything from keeping food fresh to creating new medicines. But as our ability to control this molecular speed limit gets even more precise, what comes next? What amazing new things could we invent by becoming the ultimate masters of chemical speed?